Good morning. Today is April the 3rd. It is Saturday. I am in the Green Mountains for the first time in 2021 for an initial look around. Any signs of life, general conditions. The road conditions coming in were manageable. They could have been better, but they are here. I obviously got in. There's a little bit of light snow and patches on the ground. I think we had snow here last night, but like basically a dusting. It's about 18 degrees. There's no wind. It actually is kind of nice today if you don't mind cold weather. We're going to get going. We're going to have a look around, and hopefully we find something because the local vigilance area has been quiet. Hopefully I have better luck here. And we are going to hit it. That far from where we did the intro, and we might have had signs of life. I heard something, and I know for a fact I'm out here alone, so as far as people anyway, what would I be sharing space with? Let's find out. With the disclaimer, it could have possibly been a metallic thing on my person, but still. I'm going to try to conserve camera power though, because we are out here in 18 degrees and that is going to have a negative effect on the battery. Keep going. The camera's already having difficulties because of the cold. I guess we'll have to do the best we can today as far as that. But we're coming up on a junction. So far, the only signs of life in here, other than rodent tracks and the like, are these pair of snowmobile tracks. Let's try that again. Nothing else to get a blooper reel today if the camera's going to keep getting whiny about the cold. But I'm thinking whatever that was, it might have been something on my person. I'm not. It sounded metallic, so I'd be a little bit more alert if it was a wood knock or something, but it wasn't. Conditions are kind of conducive for flying the drone too, but with it being that cold, it'll be interesting. So we are at the northern end of the Five Bogs area. We are approaching one of the larger meadows, which, if it has snow cover, would be a good place to potentially find tracks. Telltale signs of an old base camp. And so far, other than, like I said, rodent tracks, I'm not really seeing a lot. And this is actually kind of disappointing because it's more grass than it is snow. A lot of the snow has melted, which is both good and bad. Good for bad for tracking, good for getting in and out and around. So let's see. Let's go down there and kind of judge the water depth and see if there are any tracks or anything we can find immediately. See how far into this we can get. As in how deep, as in read cold water. That is fairly deep too. You go through that, you're going to have cold, wet, unhappy feet. And I'm not really reading a lot of the snow piles that I can see in the distance, and I'm not seeing any obvious signs of tracks, even including out there into the woods. So we are going to just kind of have a look around this. The ground's weird because it's like frozen and hard and yet wet, so it still gives under your feet a little bit. Kind of a weird consistency. Kind of like a frozen, crumbly waterbed is thawing out. Kind of gross. But, alright, hold on, was that? I stand corrected. We do have some indents. They look to be, I don't know if you can see them, but they look to be probably deer tracks, if you see them in the indents there. And kind of an indent here or water, let's see. It's not really any defined, but going to keep filming. I was going to head back the way I came and start working our way south, but I also heard something crack on the ice, so I'm going to just double check over here and zoom in and kind of do a quick scan to see if I'm missing anything. Right there. That's maximum zoom, but I don't know if I do, so we'll zoom out and we are going to take a segment break at this point. All right, we're going to try that again. Over here, you got some kind of little stick compilation right there. But we are headed this way, and I had to take my gloves off because they're kind of interfering with my dexterity, so we'll suck up the cold hands for a minute. Make our way through these lovely grabber bushes, which in winter still manage to suck, but it is what it is. One of those pesky little things you do when you do this kind of thing. Trying to kind of duck and weave through the open spaces in the trees, which is actually easier in the winter because you don't have as much undergrowth yet, although we will. And take a look for tracks over here. And although I'm not really seeing a lot of tracks, though. I have so far seen a duck, however, so some wildlife. I don't think it was a mallard, though. It looked like it was all dark. So whatever a black-colored duck would be, maybe a wood duck or something. Which would be cool, because I've never actually seen one of them in the wild. I do think we have them in our region, though. So the conditions are, you have like snow crust residuals from the snowpack, but it is largely gone, and otherwise it's just like cold, hard ground and a dusting of snow pretty much. So we're going to come out and take a look at signs of life over here. We did manage to get the drone in the air. Okay, camera's playing games again. I'm going to say we got the drone in the air, and after a mild mishap without a signal, it got one. And when you're doing this in this weather this cold, you have to remember battery life limitations versus, because it's just so cold. Normally the Spark gets 15 minutes of airtime, whereas in this cold you're not going to get that. So don't get overly frisky with your flying. Get a nice view of, if the camera will play nice, poopy head, and get a nice pan of the surrounding view. If I can keep my hand relatively steady before we have a look for tracks and the like. And zoom back out. And even though we don't have a lot of nice maritime shot of pretty stream waters and the like too, but sorry, there you go. And my crappy camera handling, but kind of just do a quick pan. I don't see a lot of signs of life, and I'm looking over on the backside there looking for tracks already, and I'm not seeing anything there either. So if my friends are about and still in this area, they are not seemingly in this stretch of the neighborhood today. So we are going to work our way south yet again and try to get out of the wind, because the chore of keeping my hands ungloved for handling the camera versus 18 degrees and wind going in. When I looked at the weather app this morning, I think it said something to the effect of it's going to get up to about 23 with a real feel of like 13. So it's not bad when the wind's not out, but the wind kicked up once or twice, and then you do feel a difference. But again, that little factor there of the amount of battery life you normally have versus it's like bitterly cold out, you're not really going to have the same length of that. So if you're filming out in things like this, then you need to be conservative in what you do and kind of pick the things you want to get, you want to capture on video in order to, you know, best get the bang for your buck and the like. So all right, we are going to walk out here, kind of give you a sense of where I walked in from. And again, playing to the conservative nature of the day, temperature-wise, I am going to take a segment break, and it's kind of be a stop-start kind of a video because of that fact. But again, the cold. So, okay, so we're making our way towards two of the more proper 5 bogs. We have encountered what looked to be, I'm going to guess, if the camera will behave and not be a little putz. There you go. Red squirrel tracks and classic Bambi tracks. First sign of life, they seem to just have a corridor that way. But we are going to go towards the meadow where there's more usual Bambi activity, at least, if not other potential tracks, which I have found in this particular meadow in the past, but this early in the season is kind of a unusual thing. And the thing I'm finding is the grabberry bushes are being extra grabby in here. They can stop that anytime they want. But I didn't go in at the best angle here, so let me navigate this for a minute. Okay, better. Yeah, the grabber bushes are being extra grabby today. That is not their best trait. But yeah, we seem to be a little bit left of where we normally come out here, so bear with me a sec. And come out over here where we have even footing allowing for ice and the like. It is winter after all. The hardness of the snow might actually be why there's not a lot of tracks other than this one squirrel that's like been out in the dusting recently, but anyway. Yeah, there's not a single track in sight on this, but it's hard snowpack too, so not totally surprising. And what we're going to do is head over that way towards that large pond that meadow, pond, bog that we were flying over a few minutes ago, and have a look in there, because we have had activity there. We've had a sighting in there before. I want to say that was 2016. We're going to dodge the wetness though, because the water today will be quite cold, and we're not up for that. So and this is a jinxing kind of statement, boys and girls, but I do think we can kind of be a little more cavalier about ticks today, given that it's so damn cold. And the wetness of the ground factor is not going to work out. So hopefully I don't get my wet feet, because frozen socks are no fun. And it's looking pretty soggy, so it's one of those things. Trying to just minimize that. Yeah, that water's chilly. No arguments. Well, let's get into this stuff and head over and see what we find. In here, what we're going to look for are, you'll have in this stuff is, you will have defined tracks in here. Not very well defined because of the ferny nature of this, but you will. But maybe indents from something large too. The two that we're generally talking about are, I think the biggest one would probably be height-wise, maybe 6.5 feet. We're not talking overly large compared to other sighting reports, but still north of like 250 in weight probably, given shoulder and long arm development, that kind of thing. But trying to move through this loveliness and make our way towards that other pond. Maybe just follow this the red squirrels are actively in here. That's one way to get around that. Kind of taking the scenic route and keeping to the alleged path of least resistance. Although, not okay. So we'll just walk on this stuff then, as well. But getting closer, I can see the open area cracking through. And I don't foresee the crunching snow sneaking up on anything. It's probably slim chance, but be cool if we caught something off guard in here, though. Again, looking around, if the camera would play nice, let's try that one last time. Zoom is not working for some reason. I am going to blame the cold. Never mind. I was going to give a visual, but basically my only point was what we seem to have around us is basically just a collection of red squirrel tracks. But the did you see movement over there? That would be the tree. I have no chance of stealth here, though. Okay. Yeah, we're not. That definitely will kill that, as will that. So we're out by the Pine Island now, and again, hard snowpack, no tracks. So those of you who have watched my videos over time will be familiar with where we are. This is, I believe, bog number 3. I had a sighting over that way in 2016. Was it 2017, I think, actually. Let's be brave and go out a little bit on this before we fall through and get our feet wet. And I'm not seeing a single lick of tracks, so let's walk along the edge and look for indents and that kind of thing, because the snow is not giving up anything today. Hopefully this stuff is frozen enough to not soak me because of that. But a second. I'm kind of multitasking here. Hopefully that'll keep that in place. I'm kind of working on the blooper reel simultaneously, if it works out. If not, I tried, but I do see the telltale sign of deer impressions, so things do walk through here. But for the sake of a study, let's look back, and you can kind of see my impressions. If I don't know if that captures that. Yeah, Zoom is not playing nice, so you might have to take my word for it if that's not capturing that. But well, it's nice to be back out here, though. So we're going to kind of try to navigate through this one area that hopefully is not going to wet my feet. It's kind of starting to get squishy out here, so I may, for reference, a while back, the point where I have the sighting is like on the other side of this. It just doesn't want to zoom. That point of the pine trees on the far side of that, a little bit in the woods. I was approached from down the hill by one of them as one of the first fairly up-close run-ins that I had with them. With one of them, I think it was the male. I could be wrong. I mean the female. I could be wrong. But what we're going to do right now, two things. I'm going to technically cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to take a segment break, partly to get some distant photos of the view at the corner here, but also to get the gloves on my hands because the wind is killing them right now. So we're going to admit to some human frailty and save this. Okay, we're on our way back to the first bog, literally line for line matching another red squirrel set of tracks. Crunching clumsily through this crap as best we can, but we're going to kind of zigzag through the trees again, trying to avoid eye poker type stuff, and work our way towards meadow number 1, and kind of do sort of what we did in reverse, but a little bit closer to the edge of the other meadow, and kind of wind through here. I'm trying to think if there's anything noteworthy in the in Bigfootery, and I guess the only thing really of any real entertainment value, and hopefully I don't get flack for this, for the longest time in a while, Jerry Klein popped up with a rather entertaining little rant about his thoughts on the current pandemic. I guess you get demonetized if you say certain keywords that are no-no words, but not being monetized on my channel and just doing this basically for the hell of it, I'm not that worried about that. And for the sake of just making the point, we'll get back to Jerry in a minute. Relating to some things some people have found out the hard way. I think I've mentioned this before. If you use drone video in your YouTube videos and you are monetized, you do need to understand that you need to have a commercial license. And if you're out on public land like I am, in particular like federal forest land or state forest land, you are technically operating a business in the eyes of government agencies on government land without a permit. And this is the large difference between being monetized versus not being monetized, is the fact that, I think I mentioned the Kara and Nate channel before, they I want to say got nailed with a $5,000 fine by the FAA because they were flying over a national park out west, not having any clue to this. And that was a rude introduction to the reality of that, is that they were using drone footage in a national park, and rather than do the normal thing where somebody from the FAA will reach out and try to educate you, they got reported by some snitch on YouTube, and basically they got hit with a massive fine. And that's a painful lesson. So to those of you out there that do actually monetize this and do your thing for, profit, more so than I do, because I don't monetize any. I have this one channel, I don't monetize it, and if I were to go that route at this point, I would have to go back and backtrack every single video that I've made and remove the drone content or some such, and it's just not production, what's the word I'm looking for here, production worthy for me to do so. And that's just how that is. But something to be aware of, pardon the belch, as we approach meadow number 1. So Jerry was, I think he was sober this time, but he was going off about YouTube being, I don't know, part of the greater conspiracy that makes everybody wear a mask as opposed to common sense in the course of a pandemic and all that. And you doing the normal right-wing rhetoric nonsense and all that, but he claims he got COVID and all this other stuff with all the other claims he made. Who knows? And frankly, who cares? But whenever you run into a good Jerry Klein rant, Jerry, I'll say this, and it's kind of a backhanded mockery kind of compliment. You are always, in your special way, entertaining. And you came up on the radar because really, I guess there's nothing really going on right now that I'm aware of, minus the odd conference or two, but I don't really put a lot of mental space towards conferences because I really don't have a large amount of caring towards such things, because it's not really, in my mind, a conference is not a conference. It's more like, if you're in a given place, we'll take the ones at Salt Fork. Basically, it's a convention. And you'll have the big name speakers, and they come and they give their dissertations, but with no new evidence that's come in recently, you don't really have anything new to say, so you're rehashing what people already know. Maybe you go out and you meet Jeff Meldrum or somebody you haven't met before. That's kind of cool. You get to buy a t-shirt or something, but beyond that, it's more of a social affair and a networking affair to me than it is a any kind of like an actual I find it amusing when certain people try to call their things symposiums and put this big academic kind of a feel to it. And it's a bunch of people coming together for a subject they find entertaining and fun, and they're doing it, and they're seeing a lot of the same people because they're from the same region, and the odd big name Bigfooter, if there actually is such a thing. Because I went on that on a separate rant, basically saying that, if you can't bring us the monkey, to put it in blunt terms, you really don't have anything more or less than anyone else, no matter what people like Matt Moneymaker say about having done this for years and years and years, and yet where's your monkey? Like I said, that just proves that you need to keep looking because you haven't found it yet. I don't see the point in making such claims. Let's walk along this and see what tracks we find before we wrap this up, because I'm not done with my little rant yet. Probably nothing, but you don't know if you don't look. So you're going to walk the length of this thing because this has been an area of subject activity before. And what did I just hear? Maybe nothing. My rant will go on hiatus for a minute.
maybe nothing. I'm deliberately scanning at a low level too, so if anyone should happen to pick up on something I might miss, you know, put it in the comments or whatever. I'm gonna go straight through here to where the heavier scrub brush is here, and then I'm gonna kind of pan into the woods a little bit, just for the sake of covering some ground here. And otherwise, but yeah, it's, to me, they're always more of a social affair than anything, because if you want to be an expert, you need to drag out the baseline specimen for science to say, okay, this is what it is. You can speculate forever and a day on what it is and isn't. But if you don't have a baseline to apply it for, everything and its mother is speculation and nothing more. Convenient or not, as they may or may not be for folks in their ego integrity, but that's how it is. So we are about to move back into the tree line, and this may be a good time to sort of wrap this up, because I haven't really seen any tracks beyond red squirrels and deer, and all that means right now is I have not particularly, well, mine too, but we'll be back. We'll look. There's a lot of area to cover in here, and just because today is quiet doesn't mean that. They weren't in this area this time last year or where we wrapped up. I have to get into an area to the northwest of here in order to pick up where we left off. Today was just a matter of the mission statement to be that we were looking to assess conditions and make sure we could actually get in here, because sometimes, even fairly late into April, you can have snowpack or ice cover on the way in that makes it hard to get in here. That was not the case today, although there was some snow on the ground, on the road, on the way in, but nothing too bad. So it looks like we're going to be back up here and kind of dividing time between here, the New York location, and local vigilance, although local vigilance right now is quiet and has been for some time. So we'll branch out in that area to different parts of that area in the coming future, as well as and here as well, once it gets warmer and all that. But in the meantime, we're going to wrap this one up. I will obviously come back if something happens on the way back, but otherwise this is probably as good a place to do the wrap up and call this the end of the video. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy these. If in the comments you have suggestions kind enough to quit in the middle of my outro there, that's awesome. So again, I hope you like the video, and again, in the comments, if you have anything that you want me to suggest or other things to try, more than happy to hear you out, and let me know. Otherwise, we're going to call this one here, and we will see you next time.